9-time All-Star. This gentleman pitched not only a no-hitter, he pitched also a perfect game. Besides battling on the pitcher's mound, he battled in Congress and in the Senate. Baseball Hall of Famer Jim Bunning. How you doing, Jim?
I'm doing great.
What are you doing these days? Taking it easy?
I am in retirement, if you know what that means. That means that you keep your own schedules. You have to do your own phone calls. You don't have 36 staff do things for you to help out with the 4.2 million constituents you used to serve.
Do you miss having the 30-some people working for you?
That's right.
So who makes your breakfast in the morning? You?
I do.
What's a typical breakfast for Jim Bunning?
Typical breakfast was this morning. Blueberries with crunchy cereal, 2 donuts, a cup of coffee, and some yogurt.
It sounded pretty healthy till you got to the donuts.
Oh, well, Krispy Kreme are pretty good.
And good for you.
I was talking to someone. They said to ask you, are you a Kentucky Kernel?
Yeah, 3 times.
What is a Kentucky Kernel for our listeners who don't know?
Well, it's a governor giving a friend a special honor by making them a Kentucky Kernel.
I didn't know Colonel Sanders. That's why he had the name Colonel Sanders was because he was a Kentucky Colonel. I thought he was in the military.
No, he was a Kentucky Colonel. It's an order of social gathering once a year around Derby time.
Okay, so you going to the Derby this year?
I hope so.
Are you a regular at the Derby?
I've seen about 25.
Okay. Do you have a most memorable one?
I think the first one I saw was Citation and Coletown.
That was back, what, in the mid-'70s, right?
No, that was the late 40s.
Oh, late 40s. That was before my parents were born.
Before your parents were born.
Exactly.
Gee, you're just a kid.
I was born in 71. I see that you threw a perfect game and a no-hitter. You remind me of a guy in Chicago here, Mark Burley, did the same thing. I think you're a similar type of pitcher.
I had better stuff.
You could throw the ball harder.
That's what I mean.
I see that when you retired, you had the second most strikeouts all time. I mean, were you a power pitcher or were you just getting by with finesse?
Well, I could throw about 93 miles an hour, and I could locate pretty well. So that combination and having a good slider made the combination of strikeouts come rather... I averaged about 8 in the 9-inning game.
That's pretty impressive. Now, did baseball in any way prepare you for a career in politics?
Well, I got involved in the Player Association in my 3rd year, 4th year in baseball. The Tigers elected me their player rep. So for 11 years, I was active in the Players Union.
I see that you are the only person to strike out Ted Williams in a game 3 times. Did you realize what accomplishment that was when you did it and how much you pissed him off?
Yeah.
But he got back at you.
He let me know.
What did he tell you?
Well, he went in immediately after the game that I struck him out and circled the next time he would see me. And that was in Detroit. And he hit 2 home runs, but I won 5-3.
So that's all that matters is winning the game, right?
That's absolutely the truth.
Now, back in the day, were the Philadelphia Phillies fans as bad as the reputation they've gained over the years?
They were absolutely great to me.
I know.
In other words, I disagree with your premise.
Well, they say that Philly fans are pretty brutal, especially when things aren't going right for the home team.
Well, if they know that you're giving 100% every time you play, they're for you every time. It's only when they think you're kind of deacon it and not putting out that they get on you.
Kind
And see, that was Mike Schmidt's biggest problem. He did everything so easy that they didn't think he was really busting his, butt to perform. But that's the way his manner of play was. And therefore it took him a while to win the hearts. And he's probably the best third baseman that ever lived. And he had a hard time with a lot of Philly fans early in his career.
We had Gaylord Perry on before, and he was saying that the best player he ever saw was Willie Mays.
Well, he was at the top three.
Who do you think was better than him or just as good?
Aaron, Mantle.
What do you?
I mean, you're talking about, the 1 in 1,000 player now. You're not talking about the great player. You're talking about the super great.
Okay. What about Ted Williams and Stan Musial?
Yeah, they're in that category.
What do you think? I mean, you were in politics for decades. What do you think about the government getting involved in this whole NFL strike and getting involved in this whole steroid controversy? Do you think that the government should be involved, or they should say, you know what, this is a game, let them figure it out?
Well, but the trouble is they're in interstate commerce, and therefore the government has a hand in interstate commerce. And when they use the laws to organize, in other words, the NFL uses the labor laws to organize into a union, there comes with that certain obligations. And then there comes with that certain appeals to courts. So whether you want to be in football or baseball or whatever, you're stuck into it if you're in the government, because they're using laws that have been created by government to govern corporations and or sports, because corporations own sports.
Will we ever see an end to baseball's antitrust exemption, do you think?
We should.
But
we should, because it's early ancient Civil War law. And it was put up in the 20s. And baseball has changed. We are actively involved in interstate commerce in baseball. So, that exemption should not be there.
Why don't they take it away? Or they're just, it's been just...
You know what it is? It's lack of interest.
On whose part?
On the legislator's part. They've got a lot of friends that own baseball teams, and they don't want to step on their toes. But it is absolutely not right that they should have an exemption to the Sherman antitrust laws.
So will
because they are involved. Do you think that the Chicago White Sox and the Chicago Cubs are not involved in interstate commerce?
No, they are.
There's no question of it.
Being an attorney, I know they are.
Covered. They shouldn't have an exemption.
But then you had George Bush run the country, former owner of the Rangers. He wasn't going to stop it. And now you got Obama. Obama, I don't think will do anything.
Oh, of course not. It's easier not to do anything. It's tough to make the New York Yankees and the Los Angeles Dodgers abide by all the laws that govern interstate commerce.
And Bud Selig would tell you it would be the end of the world, right?
Oh, Bud Selig, my goodness gracious!
You're not a big fan of Bud?
I'm not going to say anything about Bud. Bud's an old buddy, but he isn't going to have any controversy. Come on, the controversy he had is putting somebody in charge of the Dodgers when the Dodgers are one of the best franchises in baseball.
Yeah, what is he doing there?
Joke.
And then McCourt says Bud Selig's un-American, and I'm wondering if Frank McCourt has all his marbles.
Well, that is an unfortunate ownership problem. a very, very bad divorce going on, and the wife actually would like to own part of the Dodgers, and therefore they're going to have to settle that in court.
It's a shame. I mean,
it's one of the best franchises on the face of the earth.
I paid for it, and it is one of the best franchises.
Do you miss being a senator?
Maybe for 2 days.
I mean, these people are nuts here. I mean, they are attacking senators. They're attacking presidents. There's no respect for politicians anymore.
Well, you have to earn people's respect. You don't get it automatically.
I mean, look at Sarah Palin. They made this woman out to be a bumbling idiot.
Which is this?
Sarah Palin?
They made her to be a bumbling idiot when she was the vice presidential nominee.
Well, they did the same thing to Dan Quayle. That's you got nobody to blame but yourself. And I mean not you specifically, but you as part of a group of the media. That's who did it.
Now there seems
Palin's a very conscientious woman who ran Alaska, and she kind of. I was at the speech at the Republican convention when she gave it. She did a great job, and she's got a pretty good following. Now, I don't know if she could ever be elected president, but she's a heck of a lot smarter than most people think.
There seems to be a lack of civility when it comes to politics. When you entered it...
I think if you go back and read the time of Abraham Lincoln and read the 50s and what was going on then, civility now is higher than it was in the 1850s and 1840s and 1860s. I mean, people were called son of a SOBs and all kind of unbelievable things. They dueled on the Senate and what's called House floor, shot at each other. Come on.
What do you think of the whole Obama birth certificate controversy?
I think it's a bunch of baloney.
You think it's just Trump trying to make himself look out to be this basically hero or knight here, and I'm going to save America and make himself look good?
Well, I don't know the reason Donald Trump asked for a birth certificate, but I'll say this for him. It's the first time Obama ever produced it. So Donald Trump got something done that no one else could do.
When Lincoln and all those folks were, shouting at one another, we didn't have wall-to-wall coverage on cable news channels and radio and all that other stuff. Is all this visibility good or bad?
Television sets off. Turn the cameras off in the House and Senate. It'll take about half the time to enact a law, and half the time, people get up and play to the audience. It's worse than being a performer. It's the ones that get up and say something, and you have to determine whether they're saying anything or not, and you have to know what's going on to know that. So it isn't as easy as it used to be when only thing you had was radio, and before that, print media.
One quick thing. Do you think Barry Bonds should have faced those contempt charges?
I think should have faced whatever the Justice Department, brought forward. It's just like me. If I did something that lied to a grand jury or obstructed justice, they have the right to bring me to the federal courts and prosecute me.
You're right.
That's what they did with Barry Bonds.
He could have took the fifth. He didn't, and that's what happens. That's the consequences.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bunning. It was a pleasure talking to you, or Senator Bunning.
Colonel Bunning.
Whatever. I'm around every day.
Excellent. Enjoy your retirement, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.